only the good teams can manage, and we can see now kind of Liquid coming into their own and really taking a really strong hold at the top of the leaderboard.
It really has been a challenge of Team Liquid after their reformation around Scum to get these 3 members who are very, very strong in their respective regions to see how they did. They get the Western circles for both games and did very well to utilize that. I wonder if we're going to see very similar circle, but Yas9, it seems like it's going to go towards Liquid once again. We're going to see the drop very, very soon, but GOL and Vega right now trying to go back to the military base as soon as we can. And you saw Vega earlier in the game 4 had Military Island all to themselves, but it seems like they're going to go for Nova just then.
Yeah, and you know what? Vega and maybe GOL to an extent as well are having a lot of difficulty transitioning out of the early game and getting that decent position. Vega just not able to compete right now from a fragging standpoint. They can't get the kills. The team fights aren't going their way. GOL allowed Vitality to come into Gatka. They had full control over the entire area. Vitality just inhabiting those buildings. So we're seeing a lot of passive play from GOL. And not to mention, you know, LG now riding the bottom of the leaderboard, having a very difficult time. The adaptation, I think we're seeing a lot better from Entis than we are from the other teams right now.
And I think it's important to say that excuse coming in from GOL, even Vega, who has been stuck down in Nova for this entirety of the tournament, is that military circles maybe could benefit this team, but anyone who's dropping down at Military Island, that shouldn't be what you're expecting with such a low percentage on that circle.
No, and really, unless you get the circle on military base, any transition is going to be a bit of a jog. And really, that last circle would have been okay. Vega got in all right from military, but it's just what happens after that. LG, same thing. Even if they get the position in the circle, they're winding up under-geared, their team fights aren't going well, and they're getting wiped very early in the game. Atletico, another team that was doing fairly well, but, you know, getting wiped first last game.
Kind of one thing that comes to mind is that Entis Ace, they got South Georgia Pool for the very first time in this tournament. So what does that mean into transitioning for what they had? Was a fairly weak loot point in their early games for what they had, but still found moderate amount of success. Now they get the entirety of South Georgia Pool. How does their strength level increase from there? Well,
really, having South Georgia, arguably the better part of Georgia Pool to themselves, is going to be a huge boost for them. The residential buildings are excellent loot, and really now it's a matter of getting that loot as quickly as possible. They don't have too much time pressure. They are in the first circle coming in around that Georgia Pool area, centered around the river. So this is where we might have to see teams choosing between north and south. South being the heaviest amount of land in this first zone. So we might be headed back towards that Georgia Pool mountain area depending on how these transitions come out. But right now, everyone's spread out across the map, Tempo doing their strat around the Gatka region. And really, this is now Entis Ace's opportunity to take that good loot into the mid-game and try and win some team fights.
I mean, talking about Entis Ace, their opponents in Liquid kind of just really aggressing towards Yas9 once again. They don't want to give up free Yas9 as very rewarding in the loot phase, but they already saw the circle form on the west side once again, but they still drive their vehicles all the way over there, risking the time and effort trying to loot out the Yas9 before they join into phase.
Well, it's important for them to get that loot because, you know, they're already in transition. They have a set loot point. They can't really choose to go somewhere else because they don't know if it's going to be occupied or not. They have to assume that Yas9 is not going to be occupied. It was a drive to get there, so they did transition there. They're going to get that loot. They can come north and come in on the north end of the side of the circle and not have too much pressure there, Ghost being up in Severny. So really it's a matter of LG potentially playing Gatekeeper on a crossroad, but for Liquid specifically, if they want to continue success, I imagine it's going to be a northern transition for them.
And really, we have seen very early entrances by Liquid for most of these times, and it has been on the northern side, as you mentioned, where most teams did kind of fight around the southern part of the circles for most of the time. So Liquid kind of receiving the benefit of that, really, just being alone with not much competition from the northern entrance they have made. How does that relate to kind of the circle that we're seeing here, which is a little bit more north than what it used to be? Are we still going to see teams coming from the south and still see a lot of Corona down in that far?
Well, they have to. Well, I mean, yes, you're going to see a lot of basically congestion around that southern end, but depending on how this first transition goes into the second circle, we'll decide, do I want to go north across the river or do I want to stay southern? Now, considering how much of the land is available in the south, I'm going to imagine that the circle will end up going south as well, but it's random. We're not going to know until we see that. So you have to kind of play the odds, which is what competitive PUBG is all about, playing the best odds, the RNG, eliminating as much of that as you can. So I imagine we'll see some teams around Ruins, the south end of the Georgia Pole Mountain, and Georgia Pole itself. Avangar holding on to Northern George, Entis holding on to Southern George. And then it's going to be a matter of Vitality and FaZe having to make that long transition into that new zone and see how they can find a spot for themselves.
They have showed very much success with Vitality and FaZe doing very well, coming from very far away to make that big circle rotation to make themselves valuable when it comes to the late circle entrances. But games 3 and 4, when it was far western, they found a lot more challenge in doing the same thing they replicated in games 1 and 2. So again, on the Western Circle for Vitality and FaZe, they want to maintain the top position in day 1. So coming into this now, a very similar circle in this next game. How do you see them approaching this?
Well, FaZe has been very consistent so far with just managing that first transit. They're great at team play. That's, again, I've been saying it all day, that they have the best team play, or one of the best sets of team play in all of the tournament. And they do manage to always find their way into the end game unless something goes wrong on their transition. So that stint out of Gatka, that was just a tough rotation, but they managed still to handle it fairly well. So that was a good play from them. But for here, it's probably going to be a little bit of a later transition. They're going to know that right side of the circle is going to have a lot of pressure on it. And it's just a matter of kind of coasting in to seeing where they can get in and maybe take a fight on the way there. But for them, it's been smooth sailing so far.
It really has. And FaZe and Vitality kind of top 2 as we kind of deemed themselves for the very long time being. But there's going to be a lot of challengers facing that top 2 position, and some of the teams like Liquid, who have formed their team around a month ago, just around Scum, to create this new super team of what they're trying to achieve here. Kind of be the new contenders into that top spot in the world rankings. But Vitality, FaZe, I know they really want this, especially with Vitality not having the best of tournaments down in Katowice last week. They want to recover back from it and try to get some fire into it. But they're going to action here. JoeL, Vega getting the first knock with Maxazor, and Enino trying to escape this with Vampire Game in the first one off, most likely will go down to the shots of Xiaoju. So first knock, the first kill in for JoeL.
Yeah, Vega not realizing that JoeL was posted up on the bridge there. I looked like JoeL was trying to set up a bridge camp there. Vega getting just too close, not allowing themselves any space to maneuver, and losing a player very early. So that's a tough loss for Vega. Again, not having too much pressure in the loot phase, but losing a member very early in this game.
And it wasn't like a team that was entering through 3 teams all at once and all the shooting coming from all angles, but it was just one team, a JoeL, just few pop shots coming from range with the snipes that came through, but Vega just didn't position themselves very, very well in trying to make that bridge cross. But now they know, but they already lost one member to really know that fact.
Yeah, they essentially gained nothing from it either, and we just see Avangar lose a player as well. So that's going to be a pickup for Entus. So that's 2 early downs and kills there for teams that are trying to break out. Avangar, heavy expectations on their shoulders. This first transition coming in, we see everyone mounting up in their vehicles and trying to get across. Vega just recouping in the middle of military base, or the military island rather. So it's going to be a bit of a jostle here as that center zone really filling up quickly.
And you see the minimap here, James alone in that mountain, all by himself for Liquid. We saw Samty go on very early onto the kill, so 3 members strong is Liquid, currently holding 2 chicken dinners in a row. So in this last game of day 1, they want to finish up very, very strong, but with 3 men trying to split up very, very wide. What are they trying to achieve here?
Well, now it's going to be a matter of defense. Defense is going to be the name of the game here. Liquid having excellent success around this area, just trying to gain as much vision as possible. You see here James up top with the 8x scope, looking around, seeing what the Georgia Pool area looks like. I don't know if he's aware of Entus' presence at the base of this mountain, but for now it's going to be a bit of a conservative play style because they've already lost 1 member early.
And really coming through this, James, like you say, with the 8x, trying to figure out to scout the area, but it can get relatively busy sooner or later. We see the circle kind of closing forward with TSM trying to make the late entrance onto the circle. Not going to be contested once again. We see them very much in a stroll when it comes to the early game, something that I haven't struggled with in the past, but coming in, that hasn't been the problem in this game.
Yeah, all split out into different vehicles here. This will allow them flexibility to scout smack a little further ahead with the lead vehicle, but they are going to have a nice smooth transition here. No one there to contest them. Now it's a matter of deciding, do you want to get more centered and take a more aggressive stance, or do you want to maintain what they've been doing and go 2-2 split on the edge of the zone? It hasn't been working for them. They're having a lot of difficulty maintaining that 4-player strength, and we'll see what they choose to do here on their first transition.
And just out of personal curiosity, Moses, if you want to pull the 2-2 split off that TSM is really attempting to do but haven't found too much success with it, How do you pull it up when they're playing on the edge, though?
Well, essentially, it's a matter of vision, which is what TSM tries to accomplish with that split. They're putting 2 players in one spot, 2 players in another to maintain as much vision as possible. But like we said in the last game, when it comes to supporting a down teammate, if a fight does occur, they just don't have the ability to rotate fast enough and bring that support that's necessary to prevent them from getting wiped. And now break the last man standing. Last game having to go completely defensive, just laying next to a fence for the most of the mid game, ultimately getting discovered. Doesn't bring them a lot of kills and doesn't bring them a decent placement. And really that is hinging on their mid-game transitions, which is where they've been having the most trouble.
I think that's what they have to really overcome to find more success, as kind of circles have been a blessing towards these guys for most of these games, but really haven't made much of it. Utilizing is the most important factor in PUBG, but TSM is looking for a better performance. But as we go back to 4 AM and GOL here, China versus China, we do see one man going down to GOL with Gukhan, knocking out October right off of the phrase, but it seems like GOL might not fire back on this instance.
Yeah, now it's going to be a bit of a poke here. Now 4 AM trying to grab some loot here. With that 1x AR, the 1x ammunition, any pickup of a kill is super important, because when you're shooting at vehicles, you're chewing through ammo very quickly. Any attachments might be able to help you as well. And that's we're coming over here to IFTY, who's engaged here on the side of this hill.
FaZe trying to make their entrance one at a time. Hexetti makes the first entrance. FaZe joins in. Now Yeti gonna be the last one to try to join it, but IFTY is not gonna let them in for free. But coming here, 4 AM versus GOL. GOL did back out from the initial fight after they lost their 1 member, but 4 AM, GOL, they still maintain their position. Very good spot in this current circle. Let's see how the circle changes with the next one, but all the circle very centralized with all the members really on the center of the circle right now.
Yeah, and this is just this is how teams kind of settle into that conservative play style. We see another centered circle around the Georgia Pole area. So this is going to be another situation where those holding those nice compounds around the base of the mountain are going to be comfortable and staying still. GOL again in a position where they don't have to move too far. 4 AM also there. So this is going to be a situation where managing that position is going to be super important through the mid game, and then it's a matter of maintaining your team fights. Ghost actually transitioning right towards TSM, so we might here have a battle.
I wonder if we're going to get to see that on the screen here. Ghost versus TSM might be the important point to notice. We can see TSM still haven't made the safe entrance in the circle, but they have made late entrances. Sometimes they did not, but they do have Ghost, which they have to kind of rival after before they make the entrance. So how we're going to see here is going to be very interesting in this play.
Yeah, so Ghost here on foot already. TSM pulling up in vehicles. They might not be aware of their presence. I'm not sure if they saw Ghost transitioning, but Austin now getting a ton of information on TSM, and he's going to have to call for backup here, as TSM is either aware of their presence or about to be ambushed. And for now, it looks like the Ghost ambush is maybe being set up here.
And for the time being, it seems like all 4 members of TSM did not notice Austin on the other side of that tree there. Vision lacking is the definition here, but now Ghost knows exactly where they are. I don't think he should go for this one, because I think he should wait for the reinforcement that could come from Ghost, but he's not very aware that 4 members of TSM are currently in the same area pool.
He's just trying to, you know, get a bit of a defensive position. AMPR definitely not aware of his presence. Yeah. The rest of Ghost moving completely away. It looks like Austin just flipped his buggy and had to stop while the rest of his team was transitioning, and now TSM has moved in right on top of them. Meanwhile, Avangar holding onto the garage building, a strong hold here, but having been knocked once and lost a member, they are already weak, so it might be Avangar versus TSM, but Ghost again lurking in the background. Looks like they're going to actually be transitioning away from Austin. Austin left on his own. Ghost opting not to come back to support.
And you talk about Avangar, kind of the question I asked you earlier was how they're going to change their playstyle, and you kind of predicted they won't change their playstyle and still stick with the edge game, and they're still doing that with 3 members strong. Haven't crossed the bridge, so this next circle most likely will force them to cross the bridge to get to the safe. So what does that mean for Avangar with 3 men still playing on the edge with so many members still clustered in the center?
Yeah, it's really about timing, and it sounds unfortunate to be Austin. He has been spotted by TSM. TSM immediately converging on his position, and Austin is now in a ton of trouble, so he's going to have to med here and just try and mount some sort of defense. And moving over here, taking a look at FaZe. FaZe holding on to the church area around the ruins.
And right now, kind of the safe zone of where FaZe is at the moment. They're trying to get the ruins, trying to dominate that field, trying to come some incoming opponents that will cross that bridge from the northern part of where they are. So you See the circle is kind of just right on the edge of where FaZe is at the moment. They're going to Athletical onto the left, Vega onto the kind of the south of where they are. IFTY China joins in the phrase as well, but FaZe, it doesn't seem like they're going to be very aggressive in trying to move very scathely around the circle at the moment, but we're going to see them hold their position.
No, I really like this Ruins position. They're fairly close to the edge of the zone, and I would imagine that this spawn is going to come out. Avangard would have heard TSM there taking those shots at Austin. Austin being eliminated by TSM. So Avangard maybe being a little hesitant to start this transition. They have no immediate need to move. It's going to be TSM coming into their position. So right now, Avangard likely going to hold here as TSM kind of stuck up in those hills dealing with Austin.
Avangard's definitely aware that TSM is shooting from an outside the circle position, so they have to make their rush forward. So Avangard just has to wait in the house and try to snipe out each member of TSM as they do.
Yeah, they're going to be in vehicles. I can't imagine TSM is going to abandon the vehicles just yet. It's not going to be worthwhile, and they wouldn't have any mobility. So TSM is likely to be mounting up here to move. The first vehicle's already jockeying Vis and Smack in their vehicles already. Looks like Break is going to jump in with Smack. So now this is a dangerous spot for TSM. TSM is going to have to use that bridge in front of them. They are likely not aware of Avangard, so Avangard likely, again, going to look for an ambush here, but looks like they're mounting up as well.
No, actually, I think they did take a shot towards Avangard before they moved their made their movement. So it seems like they were aware and trying to make the kind of the widest circle rotation as they can, but there's a limit to that when the kind of the shallow point of where they are at the moment is going to be very crucial. But Avangard makes the first movement now, so TSM can feel a little bit safe with the car sounds being more audible.
Yeah, I'm wondering if TSM is going to try and dismount here and attack, but ultimately it looks like it's going to be 4 a.m. Shooting as well. Avangard still in right at top of Entis.
Entis is strong and trying to take a shot. Something already got out of trying to take a shot at Avangard. Avangard kind of uncharacteristic of what they usually represent is that still just drive up and not fighting back.
Yeah, Entis opting for the defensive strategies early in these games, and really we see here Myth engaging with Tempo. Tempo arriving back in Gatka. Myth pressing immediately out to meet them. Now Zampa maybe hearing some footsteps here going into a defensive stance. 4am and Avangard also engaged with each other on this little Georgia Pole hospital hill. And now Avangard taking casualties here early.
And this is what we just happen to see this entire tournament for Avangard. I mean, it's been similar reflections of what we saw at Katowice when they had the bad games, but they at least put up a fight when they lost. But this time around, when we see them at StarLadder, their home ground, where they're supposed to be kind of continuing on their success of what they found last week, they don't put up a fight, and they still go down in one of the last places.
And really, it's a matter of positioning. Look, they're trying to take this hill against a well-entrenched 4am. 4am having a great building, a excellent line of sight on them. There's no way for Avangard to actually get across this mountain without being spotted, and they've already taken one casualty on the way in, and just putting pressure on their vehicle rotation. And now, I mean, even looking at Tempo, they're in a similar position, already taking one casualty on an entry here. Myth not being too aggressive and maybe just allowing Tempo to take hold in this compound. This is where I'd like to see a team like Myth get a little bit more aggressive.
And at this point, Tempo, I think, signed a residential contract with Gatka, was being there every game and
yeah.
really have to just kind of protect their cause and really maintain their front that nobody intrudes Gatka while they are on the field. But as you say, Myth and just Tempo Storm, who's going to be the victor out there is going to be the question asked.
Yeah, and even looking at how TSM has been rotating, their ability to enter and be aggressive is being hindered by their splits. Tempo having similar issues. So I imagine that right now Break and the rest of TSM are concerned about the top of this hill. They're now all on foot. No options here against split out. Entis right below them. It's a matter of who is going to get vision first here because Entis is moving into attack.
Now you see the camera being worked around TSM and Entis Ace. They do hear the vehicles from NPR on the top of the mountain, so Entis Ace has an idea of at least a few people that's going to be around the top of the mountain. So Smack, this is going to be the important here. I think he's going to be not spotted quite yet, but Sungjang trying to get some shots onto him.
So this is going to be a battle here between TSM and Entis, two teams that haven't faced off just yet. So Entis putting the initial shots on, but now TSM is trying to form up and provide some top-level cover here. Break having that high ground position.
Break is going to be looking to get that high point position, trying to get some good vision. He does see something. He's got to get the initial knock, and that will be the first knock coming through for TSM. But right now, he wants to continue on to that. One knock means an aggression towards TSM, and they will look like they're going to move forward.
Avangard stole that kill, so that's one kill missing now for TSM. Break continuing with the pressure here. Entis not really sure what to do now.
It really is, and it just, you know, when it comes to the knocks coming forward, obviously Viz gets knocked from Sungjiang on the other end, so very much split up once again. They try to find more success as they did last time. Gets the knock with break, trying to get the first member Entices out of there, but obviously kill stolen. It was kind of the feels bad one. But right now, TSM, Entices, I don't think it's quite over just yet, and we do have to see how the final results turn out.
Well, yeah, Viz went down and lost his helmet there, so that's a big loss in a mid-game where that is not loot, where it's very difficult to loot regardless of where you are. Entis is doing a decent job of putting return pressure onto TSM. Every time they silhouette themselves, they're receiving immediate pressure. So that's really nice counter fire by Entis, but right now it's a bit of a stalemate. Both teams outside the current play zone, not a lot of distance to cover, but the vehicles are being disabled, so it's going to be an on-foot transition here.
And we knew that TSM, along with Entices especially, getting to the top 2 positions 2 games in a row, kind of is a successor to itself, to how they accomplish it. They accomplish it by beating out big teams, very strong teams on the way to get that success. So once again, they're here. They have to beat out TSM before they can start moving.
Yeah, and even taking that down right there, that's going to be huge. This battle of attrition, even if they come out of this unscathed, they will have taken a lot of damage from TSM, and this early in the game where they're not able to replace that loot, it's going to be very difficult for them to carry momentum into the next stage.
It's going to be very important to see the different characteristics of these 2 teams, with Entices usually like to get early entrances to every single circle, while TSM will be very, very comfortable making the late entrances. Those 2 differences, I don't know how they would see the differences being the dynamic differences, how they play this out.
Yeah, it looks like TSM is going to opt to use the vehicles here now, coming across Vitality, so TSM engaged on all fronts here.
Careful.
Yeah, almost ran his teammate over.
I was going to say.
You know what, if you're
just
going
making sure.
Just 1 kilometer an hour, you just drop over dead. That's how it works, right?
That's how it works in PUBG, man. It's like
motorcycle wheel hits you and you just explode. It's the way it goes.
You know when certain visions on kind of seeing when it connects you on a personal level, because I've done it so many times on my own.
Oh, no FaZe. FaZe is going down here. Looks like they're going to lose a ton of members here. Looks like Haxetti's already gone down. I just saw a team wipe happen from FaZe. We might have missed that there, but a vehicle explosion taking out an entire team. We're down to 16 now, but FaZe now being rewarded with fire from C9.
C9 trying to fire back towards FaZe, who did get a few kills onto the FaZe members. FaZe being the only man left alive to his clan, but does speak out. Yeah, trying to speak out. The little bit of pixel that.
Trying to shoot the toes. The toe shots, man. That's a war crime. Don't do that. Don't shoot a man's toes.
Come on, Moody. Hit him in the
toes. So Moody trying to put pressure onto FaZe. FaZe, you know, running into some difficulty here. I'm not sure how many casualties they took, but again,
about 3.
It's again a Myth allowing Vega to waltz into Gatka. So now it's being shared between Tempo, Vega, and Myth.
The circle closing in slowly now. We're going to see whether Gatka is going to be the line of story that is continuing on from the FaZe. But like I said, FaZe, and especially FaZe, the only member alive at the moment. How are we going to handle the situation when there's still 15 teams left remaining?
Yeah, and really, that's again, FaZe is actually very good at going to defensive turtles as well. They do manage their position quite well, but it's a matter of not being spotted while you're turtling. So this next transition is going to be the tough one, as Gatka might come out here, and again, we will see something similar to what we saw last game, where everyone having to transition out, and Liquid, again, in the center of the map, 4 strong with a compound.
And whether that reflects to an actual result that reflects on what we've seen in the past, we're going to see. But TSM and Entices, we had to see the end of this story before we can move on, because the circle is closing in. In this 1.0 AR settings, we have to see more loots being looted by every single corpse they take. But TSM, 3 members strong. It seems like OG and Entices will be locked out in 15th place.
Ooh, so that's a tough turn for them. They had a bit of a strong start there. Gatka is going to come out. So all of these teams, Myth, Vega, and Tempo, are going to have to transition all together again. Liquid appears to have lost their center position as well. Fuzzface just lurking there in the background. But this is a story of Gatka as Vega and Myth now going in.
They really... Oh, just Avagar coming through.
There goes Avagar. Poor Avagar.
You know, we want to do the story like that, but there's a chance to do so when you don't get knocked out very, very early in these few games. But back to this Myth. I have to see the ending of the Gatka story with it. He's trying to Fuzzface is still in Gatka a little bit as well.
He's actually just outside, yeah.
A little bit north, but Myth, along with Vega, along with Tempo, are you going to see the ending to the Gatka story here?
Careful, that's your teammate, friend. You're not supposed to shoot that guy.
Just telling it
to win. Give him a love tap. It's like, hey, do you want to use a little bit more meds? He's like, hey, man, you're not shooting. my God, here comes
that
another
wasn't
team.
his teammate.
That was not his teammate.
So it seems like Vega getting some kills onto this, but going back and forth with Nox coming both ways. And trying to join the HP, but Naka gets the kill right away with the ticks falling down on his HP. But that fight cannot last forever, Moses, because the circle will be closing the minute.
Yeah, Vega now down as well. Tempo eliminated there. So that is another tough loss for Tempo. Myth finishing that off. I'm not sure if they were able to escape. They did, I think, get away with 3 players there. Vega too strong, maybe looking for a res here, but the circle is now closing. Myth has the position.
Oh
but
my!
that's going to be more shots here coming out.
Does Myth has just abandoned this now because they have to get out of this Gaka? Vega does have 1 member strong as they win the last battle, but it's going to be a very small win for Vega because they still have to make the very difficult entrance outside of Gaka.
Yeah, Myth is going to be able to hold the last remaining member of Vega here, but it's not going to be easy for them because Liquid is now in the background poking away from long distance.
This is what Liquid has to be very, very good at, with getting the middle parts of the circle who can snipe them from range. And all these 4 players, we know are very able to do that, but right now Vega does get the last member down to 11th place finish for this Russian squad. So coming into this next part of it here, GOL and 4AM kind of resembles what we saw earlier in this game. They're still in this very similar location. They do have to make a little bit of movement.
TSM has actually snuck in on the high ground just above GOL. Now TSM not having to do too much movement there, so they're going to be able to come in prone, maybe use some utility to cover themselves. They have no direct line of sight onto their position, but now it's going to be GOL defending against 4AM. Their smoke is going to start to dissipate, and it's going to be movement time for 4AM, and they are wide in the open.
And TSM, they have to be very smart about how they make this approach because GOL is right in front of them, but otherwise, you want to make your entrance to the left a little bit, but Vitality and Liquid's going to be there as well. So TSM kind of in a lost situation. It seems like I wonder where they're going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. TSM is just going to be able to pick up some vision here. They do see Frex way off in the distance. He realizing now that he has to move. Now it's going to be a matter of, is he going to be able to get away from this fire? The support vehicle shows up. I like it. That's good teamwork by C9. The rescue vehicle comes in for Frex and actually gets away. That's like that's a nice play.
Car barrier can be called as that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was exactly what C9 was looking for.
It reminds me of the medic from like StarCraft.
Oh,
just coming to suck up your guy. Like, yeah, that's very nice.
Oh my goodness. We're back in the action with 4AM GOL. Still haven't called truce between these 2 Chinese squads, trying to get the winner out of this, but TSM is going to join in the mix. So how are they going to see the winner off this play? But going back to Liquid here, like I said, very good position for what they did. Another good circle for these guys as we see them closing down into the edge of where they are. So Vitality Monkey is going to be the only one that's anywhere near them, but they can still snipe them from range.
Yeah, Vitality, I think, took a lot of casualties here. Actually, though TSM transitioning in a vehicle here down onto the low ground. The early transition in vehicle this late in the game is very dangerous, and obviously that's now cost them as Vis goes down. You have to wonder why they didn't just transition on foot into the gap there.
I guess it's just a lack of intelligence they had on that front of the division. They want to get the 2-2 split, what they did once again, and try to move a Smack and Vis, trying to get them forward first and see if the other 2 can do much with it. But like I said, having 1 man down, that does put out casualty, which makes the entire TSM roster weaker.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of vehicle transitions happening here. 4AM trying the same as well. GOL also losing a man to vehicle now. Here comes the rest of the support from TSM.
Now trying to be caught out by 4AM here. Moody does go down in a knock, but Aluka is going to find some more time. TSM's going to join in the fight with GOL and joining in the fray as well. Smack trying to maintain the position where his teammate did die out. So trying to get most out of his current position with Break still on the break side, trying to get for the
He ran out of ammo over his 5.6, having to switch to the AK. That's really tough for Aluka. Now C9 is in rough shape, a lot of members down, but not out just yet. C9 having to do some clutch rezzing here. Liquid still playing the harasser, shooting at everyone, stealing kills, and now aim PR goes down. TSM continues to take casualties.
And it really is a 4-way conflict between TSM, GOL, C9. Oh, grenade!
No.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my gosh, Aluka drops a bomb onto C9, and that is every single member of C9 eliminated with 1 grenade.
Efficiency there.
Efficiency.
I would have to give them that. Woo.
Kobe.
Touchdown and Kobe in the same sentence.
Exactly.
Only in esports.
Kobe Bryant scoring a touchdown. Sports.
Wonderful.
Oh my gosh. So 4AM picking up a ton of loot there. A nice little spot in the zone as well. So TSM still with 2 up. Liquid now having to transition as well. GOL, the only centered team in the zone. FaZe and Myth on the bottom right. So now it's going to be a bit of a trade here. The strategy going to have to come in heavy, as no one has a good spot now.
And this might be the first time that Liquid did not have a good position in these last few circles where the circle is away from them. They're not going to be in a position to probably stay in the middle of the circles trying to snipe people away from range. But you see GOL and TSM already in the safe zone already. So Liquid, even with 3 members strong, I wonder if they're going to just make a hard end to try to pick up a fight.
TSM, if they want to place well here, is going to have to play super passive. GOL is not going to receive too much pressure because they're in the low ground spot. All these teams around them are going to be fighting for position. You're going to see Myth, FaZe, all the remnants of these teams that have been battling all the way through this. It's a matter of is Liquid going to be able to get through here? FaZe has been discovered, and knocked out, unfortunately. So Myth securing themselves at minimum 7th place.
And you can see Liquid trying to make their movement now. They're going to be working with the circle closing in on them in 3 seconds. But Liquid, they have to wake up before they can get into the safe. But Vitality, even Monkey, the last member standing, he's still in the house. What choice going to be?
Yeah, Myth is actually holding Atletico in the zone right now, using that superior position. Atletico having to play in the zone and doing lots of damage. Atletico in a huge bind right now. There's nothing they can do to maneuver. Myth holding them right outside. Now it's going to be time for Liquid to move. We're going to see a lot of kills coming very quickly here.
And Atletico feeling a lot of fear as they make this next entrance because Pongo already kind of outside the zone trying to make the meta game while Nefer tried to get some intelligence where other members might be. So at the time being, Atletico is just playing scared at the moment, and I might see a lot of casualties coming through.
Yeah, Atletico just having no options. We actually saw Vitality go out as well. And now it's a matter of Myth being pressured by 4AM. So GOL 4AM also putting lots of pressure on the end of the zone here. Liquid now in play. This is going to be a battle for the finish here.
So it seems like Myth, they had the advantage going towards on trying to knock out Atletico, but 4AM had the numbers on them. And as they make their entrance into this next circle, it seems like 4AM, Myth, they're going to be facing each other. Minora and Esquelsi.
The tables have turned.
When you think you're on the winning end, you're on the losing end.
Yeah, exactly. They had the same position that Atletico did, and 4AM wiped them out completely. So that's a nice pickup for 4AM. Now we're seeing how many Chinese teams here in the top 5?
So I really talked about the Chinese teams reviving in this StarLadder tournament. And we're starting to see a little bit of that Game 5 with 2 out of the 4 teams left remaining are from China representing this region. Very proud. And TSM, Liquid, GOL, and 4AM. These are the 4 teams that you're going to be looking at. None of the teams have a 4-man full squad. So passivity, we're going to see a little bit coming from all 4 teams.
Liquid still with 3 up. Lots of vision here. They have an angle on a GOL who is now stuck in the middle. They have both 4AM, Liquid, and TSM there. Now TSM has been spotted. 4AM knocking break.
It's going to see how this transfer also, you know, Smack coming in. The only last remaining member of TSM. He's not going to go for the rest, obviously. The circle will be closing in within 15 seconds. I think he's going to be conscious of the fact that he has to make a late entrance, which is very characteristic of TSM. But GOL being the only one very close to the circle, Liquid has to make a hard entrance, but they have to beat GOL to it.
Yeah, they actually have to make a move here on GOL. GOL playing very defensive in the low ground. This has now reduced the chances for TSM greatly. Actually, Scoom stealing that kill on break, and now the shots coming in, as does the zone. TSM in very, very dire straits here.
Trying to use a med kit as the circle's closing. Come on, Smack.
Yeah, I think the zone got him there. So that is TSM eliminated in 4th place. And now Liquid is moving on to GOL.
Okay, this is going to be the very important point where Liquid, can they make their entrance with GOL holding the ground, trying to gatekeep this 4AM, trying to make their entrance from the south side of the circle. They see Ibiza on the right, but Ibiza gets the first hit onto Captain here, and Luca going to be the last member standing. GOL still is going to be on the fray here on the north.
He's going for a res. He's going for the res in the play zone. This is intense. I'm not sure if they actually made it all the way in, if 4AM can get that res.
It seems like they made it just barely in, but Liquid, they have so much assignment cut out for them. They have to watch for the north with GOL, and they have to watch for the south with 4AM, the 2 Chinese squads entering the phase. It's going to be 2 Chinese teams versus Liquid.
No, they're in the play zone. You can see them chunking away there. I think that they just got a little bit too much pressure. GOL now having to move up as well. Now it's going to be Liquid versus GOL. Can Liquid go for a third straight win?
Okay, we see Luca going down as the last member for him, so it will be, once again, Liquid. Could they get the third chicken dinner in a row? 3v2 situation. Obviously, James kind of crunching forward as a knock, trying to bait out to some of the vision.
He's just going
here.
for vision. He's just getting vision now. It's taken away, so now it's a 2v2 situation. Liquid in position to win a potential third straight game, and that's a down for them.
And Ibiza just coming in clutch, trying to go for this very late kill here. And once again, Ibiza shows him that he doesn't need his teammate to finish out the game as he single-handedly gives Liquid another chicken dinner, third in a row.
They're looking at Liquid right now. They're almost like, did we just win 3 in a row? I think we just won 3 in a row. So that is Liquid coming out at the back end of today and taking a dominating 3-win stand. And they are just clutching the top leaderboard, and there's no one near them.
And let's talk about theories here, Moses. You know, talk about Western Circles being the success benefactor of Liquid. They've done that 3 times in a row with 3 games with the Western Circles. Now, we talked about circle theories and how that translates into actual results. We saw Liquid getting very good position, and their shooting ability does not get them away from defending those very efficient locations. So, coming into this now, 3 chicken dinners in a row, and they very much cemented them in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Liquid's dominating right now. Look, I mean, the kill count reflects it as well. Racking up a ton of kills through that end game, securing another chicken dinner tonight. That is, I don't think in competition I've ever seen 3 in a row. So that's amazing.
But there are many variables to really think about. What if the circle had landed very far to the east or very far to the south, military circle even? How would that change their play? Because we saw a Western circle equals Liquid win.
So at the same time, the circle has been in their favor. That's no doubt. They have not had those mid-game transitions that other teams have had to do. But at the same time, they come from the east. They have to get that position for themselves.